so much as a warning. Life hangs in the balance. Human endeavor turns to chaos. And within seconds, nothing will ever be the same. Ever. We have scoured the globe to bring you some of the most amazing images of destruction ever captured on tape. You'll see a small town buried under a massive wall of ice and snow, and witness a searing gas tank explosion just feet from firefighters. It's the most intense half hour on television, and we call it Destroyed in Seconds. Take 400 gallons of gasoline, heat it to 4,000 degrees, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Minutes earlier, firefighters arrive at a St. Augustine, Florida construction site. They're called when a piece of construction equipment called a jet dryer catches on fire. What's a jet dryer? It's a 2,000 horsepower machine used to dry out road surfaces before they're paved. The firefighters douse the flames with water. This doesn't work. In fact, it causes the jet dryer's metal casing to spark. What firefighters don't know is that the jet dryer's casing is made of the metal magnesium. A magnesium fire can't be put out with water, so the men switch to foam, hoping to smother the flames. But this doesn't work either, and the fire continues to burn at 4,000 degrees. Two firefighters move in to assess the situation. The dryer's fuel tank ruptures, sending a fireball directly at the two firefighters. Flames shoot 40 feet into the air. The heat is felt 100 yards away. The fire is started when a short-circuited wire burns through the jet dryer's fuel line. As the fuel leaks out of the tank, it's replaced by air. The heat of the flames causes the air to pressurize and expand. Finally, the tank erupts, dousing the flames with 400 gallons of gasoline. Despite the heat and the force of the explosion, the two firefighters walk away uninjured. A tactic firefighters first learn is to find cover whenever possible while fighting fires. In this case, a portable traffic sign and training may be exactly what saved the lives of these firemen. Buffalo Grove, Illinois. A police officer pulls over a 70-year-old man for speeding.
You were doing 23 miles over the speed limit. No. You have a conviction on your record. No. I don't agree with that. I don't care if you're here or there. You can go to court.
The driver denies he was speeding.
No. We're going to that. The
officer issues a ticket and cautions the driver.
Conversation's over. Okay. Have a better day. Be careful pulling out. Okay?
The officer then gets back inside his patrol car. The driver waits for a car to pass and is about to pull out. The driver signals that he's about to enter traffic, but he puts his car into reverse and steps on the gas. The 3,200-pound sedan ends up on the patrol car's hood, smashing the windshield.
Turn your car off! Turn the car off!
Neither the driver nor the officer are injured. The driver claims he shifted into reverse by mistake. Police did not file additional charges over the accident. Bank Raceway, Australia. It's a competition to determine the fastest drag racer in the country. These top-fuel dragsters can hit speeds nearing 300 miles per hour. Two drivers are about to go head-to-head in the final qualifying session. racers in Australia compete at Willowbank Raceway. Just as the final race begins, one of the $300,000 dragsters snaps in two and bursts into flames. Driver Phil LaMattina is still inside the burning roll cage as it slams into the wall, then cartwheels more than a quarter mile down the track. The front end seems to simply break away as the dragster hits 300 miles an hour. The reason? An aging chassis that finally cracks under the high-speed pressure. It's hard to imagine, but Phil sustained no injuries from this spectacular crash.
I remember seeing the dash in the sky, and then I think I remember laying over.
Lucky for Phil, his roll cage was built to withstand crashes just like this. And after walking away without a scratch, he got himself a new car and went back to racing. For years, Northern Ireland's Harland and Wolff Company was one of the biggest shipbuilders in the world. In 1912, it was the birthplace of the infamous Titanic. Then, in 1974, it became home to a Belfast landmark, a 350-foot gantry crane nicknamed Samson. Samson is an integral part of the Harland and Wolff Shipyard. It can lift nearly 900 tons and will destroy anything that gets in its way. On this day, a 100-foot crane finds itself in Samson's path. In spite of the screams from workers across the yard, it's too late. Samson begins to move across the yard, the warning horns sound. However, the operator controlling Samson is unaware that the boom of the smaller crane is sticking out directly in Samson's path. The boom is clipped by one of Samson's legs. A few seconds later, the toppled crane is a heap of twisted metal. Thankfully, there was no operator inside the smaller crane. Because of the accident, the Harland and Wolff Company implements new safety procedures that will prevent mishaps like this from ever occurring again. It's rush hour inside of a traffic tunnel 186 miles outside of Seoul, South Korea. Two transport trucks come to a complete stop in the right lane. The vehicle in front is having mechanical problems. The drivers and passengers get out to assess the situation. Moments later, smoke billows from the back of the truck. Motorists continue past, completely unaware that the smoldering truck is loaded with South Korean Army surface-to-air missiles. One man grabs a roadside fire extinguisher. It's no match for the rapidly spreading flames. When it's clear the blaze is out of control, the men immediately back the second truck away from the fire. Just minutes later, black smoke pours from the tunnel. Motorists abandon their cars and stumble out, gasping for air. A faulty brake line causes one of the tires to catch fire. The fire spreads quickly, igniting the solid fuel inside the missiles. Luckily, the fuel is designed to only burn and not explode. The truck's gas tanks, however, are a different story. Parts of the missiles are sent hurtling through the tunnel and into the street. This is all that remains of the truck that held the missiles. Although the walls are charred, the tunnel suffers no structural damage. Even though no one was hurt, the Korean Army implements new safety procedures when it comes to transporting dangerous cargo. If you don't ride a Harley-Davidson Sportster class bike, then you can't compete in the Harley-Davidson Sportster Performance Series race in Hagerstown, Maryland.
And they go handlebar to handlebar, wheel to wheel, engine to engine. I mean, you can almost tie them together. They're so close.
Fighting for first place, pro racer Jake Johnson comes out of the turn in a high-speed wobble.
Change your game, no.
Other racers manage to avoid him and his bike,
Rider down on the speedway.
but racer Brian Smith isn't so lucky.
Thing came apart. Rider hit big.
Johnson takes the turn too quickly and can't gain traction on the dirt track.
Now let's go change your game, no.
His bike breaks in two as he's sent tumbling down the track. Seconds later, Smith clips Johnson's bike. Smith flies 25 feet through the air. His bike breaks apart.
Rider hit big. Other bike on the speedway, down on the track.
Smith lies unconscious. Johnson crashes at around 70 miles per hour. Smith is traveling at approximately 60 miles per hour when he goes down. Amazingly, if Smith's bike hadn't broken up, another racer may have become the third casualty.
Johnson is apparently all right.
Jake Johnson is uninjured. He walks off the track under his own power. But Brian Smith breaks 2 bones in his left forearm and has to be taken to the hospital. He returns to racing in 6 months and still races today. Both drivers are fortunate. Things could have been much worse.
Rider down on
July 29th, 1967, the Gulf of Tonkin near the coast of Vietnam. Planes from the aircraft carrier USS Forrestal carry out strategic bombing runs during the Vietnam conflict. On the flight deck, sailors refuel fighters, load bombs, and inspect planes in preparation for more bombing missions. Then, just before takeoff, something goes seriously wrong. An Mk-32 Zuni rocket misfires and shoots across the flight deck. The errant missile hits one of the A-4 Skyhawks and ruptures its fuel tank. The unarmed rocket doesn't explode, but sparks from the impact ignite the jet fuel. The missile impact dislodges 2 1,000-pound bombs. They land in a puddle of flaming jet fuel. As the ship's firefighters throw water on the flames, one of the 1,000-pound bombs detonates. Fire and debris rain down on the crewmen as they run for cover. Once the shower of flames subsides, the sailors turn back to help their injured shipmates. The danger continues as the heat from the fire causes more bombs to detonate. rescue choppers and destroyers arrive on the scene, and survivors are plucked from the water. With the reinforcements' help, the crew finally brings the blaze under control. After an exhaustive naval investigation, it's determined that a power surge in one of the jets caused the rocket to misfire. The tragic accident killed 134 sailors and injured 161 more. The Forrestal was saved, but this will always be remembered as one of the worst naval accidents in U.S. history. The Harrier GR-7 military jet is one unique bird. It takes off like a jet, but can hover like a helicopter. The secret lies in its vectored thrust nozzles. When pointed down, the aircraft hovers. When the nozzles are pointed back, the aircraft flies forward. The vectored thrust gives the Harrier high maneuverability. It also makes it one of the most difficult jets to fly. The Lowestoft Seafront Air Festival, Suffolk, England. The crowd is wowed by a demonstration of a Royal Air Force Harrier GR-7. The pilot brings the jet to a hover. Then something goes wrong. At an annual British seafront air show, tens of thousands of spectators watch a demonstration of a Harrier jet. The Harrier experiences engine trouble and plummets more than 50 feet into the water. The pilot ejects seconds before the impact. The cause of the accident? Pilot error. The pilot mistakenly operates the throttle and the vectored nozzle direction lever at the same time. That causes the plane to lose all lift and plummet into the sea. The 10-ton jet sinks rapidly. Oh dear. The pilot is picked up by a rescue boat. He's taken by helicopter to a nearby hospital. He suffers only a broken ankle. When it hit water, the pilot's cockpit was severed from the fuselage. The loss? $23 million. The Royal Air Force has seen 22 of its Harrier jets crash. This one made it 23. Oh dear. The village of Oda, Norway is one of the most picturesque places on Earth. But it's also one of the most active regions in the world for avalanches. January 17th, 1993, like a massive slow-moving locomotive, a 7-story tall wall of ice, snow, and rock flattens everything in its path. From 100-foot trees that have stood for centuries to houses that have stood for decades. A man videotaping from across the lake can only watch as the churning giant takes dead aim at 2 occupied houses. The first home topples like a dollhouse. The 3 people inside are caught completely by surprise. The second house is also occupied. Miraculously, the house remains stable as the avalanche splits and moves around it. When rescuers arrive, they're stunned by the destruction. But the main concern is for those trapped in their homes. Of the 3 people inside the first home hit, 2 survive when they escape into the basement, but a 3rd is killed. All 3 people in the second house survive when they take cover in a concrete laundry room. A blizzard, followed by a sudden warming trend, produced perfect conditions for an avalanche of this magnitude. As a result of the tragedy, new plans are put in place to evacuate residents sooner when there's the threat of an avalanche. Bars have just closed in St. Petersburg, Florida. One police officer follows another with his dashboard camera rolling. Nearly every police car here is equipped with a camera because you never know what might happen. The officer has the green light as he approaches the intersection. When a Mercedes on a side street runs the red, there's no time to react. The T-bone crash sends both cars careening off the side of the road. The vehicles are a total loss.
Dude, you okay?
It's later determined that the Mercedes driver's alcohol level was triple the legal limit. Despite the severity of the crash,
He blew the light. He must have been going about 70. I got it on video.
both drivers survived with just cuts and bruises. But the driver of the Mercedes is booked for causing injury while driving under the influence and failure to stop at a red light. I'm Ron Pitts, and we'll see you next time on Destroyed in Seconds.